We shall now talk about the major features, advantages, or characteristics of C++ programming language. The first advantage of C++ programming language is it contains a very large or a big library of different functions to develop programs. What do you mean by a library function? Say for example, I have to calculate the square root. I don't write my own code to calculate the square root. I use the code which is already available as a part of the C++ library and I use it. What is the advantage of this? The advantage is it saves me time to develop the code. The time to develop the code is reduced, thereby you have faster code produced, and consequently you are paying for development of code, so the cost of software development is also reduced. This is a real major advantage. In object oriented programming, okay, what you can do is you can create applications as objects rather than as simply code. What it really means is you can have one block which contains some data and functions, have another block which contains some data and functions. Let me give you an example. Let us say the block A contains your name, your marks, height, home address, and all the details. This is block A. Block B just contains some simple data and code to generate your percentage and rank. So it can request block A or object A to just provide the marks of each student. It doesn't care where the marks are stored, how the marks are stored. So when it sends a request from block B to block A will send the marks to block B. Block B will process, generate the marks percentage and list out the result. So here what you mean is block A is known as one object, block B is known as second object. You can think of block A as one software program, block B as another software program, both containing their own data. And block B or object B cannot directly go and get the data contained in object A. Object A receives a request from object B and the data is transmitted to object B. So let me try to illustrate this for you because theoretically it may be a little abstract to understand. So once I show it through a diagram, things can be really clear. Let us say I have object A here and this is object B. This has some data, okay, and it has some code. This again has some data and this has some code. Now, as I was telling you, let us think that object A contains your name, home address, marks, height, weight, class, everything, and some other code. We are not bothered about the code. Marks or object B contains code which is used to calculate your subject's percentage as well as your rank in your class. Since object B does not contain the data required to calculate it, it just sends a request to object A. Object A will pass on that data to object B's code and object B's code can utilize that and process the results. The advantage of this communication between object A and object B is this code cannot directly touch this data. So data is hidden or abstraction of data is provided or data is protected from unnecessary or wrongful changes by this particular fellow. The data here can only be changed by the code contained in A. So this is one group of program. This is the second program group. Now, applications designed using object-oriented programming are designed as communication between objects because these two fellows are communicating with each other now. The advantage is this allows greater reusability of code and more logical facilities. Now, what it means by greater reusability of code is I can create a new application. Suppose I need the data to do something with the marks. I can just request this fellow A and he is going to send it to object C. Object C is going to receive the data from A and it is going to go here. And this fellow is going to do the calculation. So I can reuse data without having to recreate this data here. Now, portability. What do you really mean by portability? Suppose I write a C++ program using an Intel based computer CPU. I can take that same code to an AMD, a Motorola, or an Apple processor, recompile it using a compiler for that particular machine, and with little or no changes can execute the program on that particular machine. So the ability of code to be taken from one hardware, one operating system to another without making major changes or no changes is referred to as portability. C and C++ are extremely famous for the very reason that they are highly portable languages. They permit the portability of code. Code written on one hardware, one operating system can be easily migrated to another operating system or hardware, recompiled and reused. Brevity of code. Since we use a lot of library functions and the language itself is so powerful, for doing something we have to not write many or a large number of lines of code. A few lines of code help us to do even complicated things or help us to accomplish even complicated things. So this should help you understand what you mean by brevity. Now let us look at other characteristics of C++. Modularity. By the word modularity, what you really mean is you have developed a program or you have developed a number of programs which can be compiled separately and then joined. For example, I am doing an application, okay, which involves, let us say, again, let's go back to your school. This just is used to Program A is used to print your name, address, and so on. So it contains all that particular data. Program B again uses your name, address, and all, but this one is for generating the marks. Okay. And let us see, last C, I have one more to keep track of all your extracurricular activities. I have one more program. Now I have created this as in one file, this in the second file, and this in the third file. All of them are independent modules. We have already talked about modular programming before. So all of them are independent modules. They may be compiled separately. If I make any changes to this, I need not group all three together and recompile. I can only recompile this fellow and continue to use B and C without making any changes. So modular programming means you have several. Source code means where the program is written in a high level language. Source code. So this is C++ file A, C++ file B, C++ file C. Suppose my application requires all these three files or all these three modules. If I make change in B, I do not need to recompile A and C. I need to only recompile B and use it comfortably and B and C. So this is a big advantage. The other thing is in C++, suppose you have written code in C or COBOL, Fortran or Java. That particular code can be combined with your C++ code and reused. This is another advantage of modularity. Now, I've already told you, code written in C can be compiled or used in a C++ environment without making any changes. As a result, because C++ is a superset of C. Okay, C is a middle level language. It's neither low level nor high level. Similarly, C++ is referred to as duality as a high level and low level language. Duality means it's neither like assembly or low level language, nor neither like a perfectly like a high level language. So as a result, the C++ code is very effective and efficient and it runs extremely fast because high level language gives you ease of coding, low level language gives you speed of coding. By combining the features of high level language and low level language, C++ achieves duality. So because of this, it is very efficient and very fast. Machine independent. A C++ program written on one hardware machine can easily be taken onto another hardware machine without any problem. Flexibility. Using C++, you can write system programs, operating system, compilers, utility software. You can write business application. You can write scientific application, engineering application because of its flexibility and versatility. So as I already told you, C++ is or extensively used in system software, compilers, operating system, database management system like Oracle and so on. So this should give you an idea about what are the characteristics or advantages of C++.